watching this video and you haven't finished Horizon Forbidden West and want to, go away. Because I'm Zoe Delahunty-Light and buddy, I'm gonna spoil the entire ending of the game and explain some plot holes and points that were breezed past in the third and final act. So, it goes without saying, though I am gonna say it, this video is full of spoilers from the very beginning. Do not watch this if you want the ending of the game to be a surprise, or if you want to play it because I will not tolerate any comments complaining about spoilers. Okay, now we have that out of the way. Hello. Upon finishing Horizon Forbidden West, did you wonder why certain characters were doing, certain things towards the end that might have appeared like they came out of nowhere? Confused about what exactly was explained before that final boss fight? I'm a lore fiend and have all the answers and explaining you could ever need about the Horizon Forbidden West ending, so here's exactly what all those kind of rushed revelations mean for the story of Horizon Forbidden West. Deeper lore dives into the Zeniths and Ted Pharaoh, among others, are coming, but until then, here's a brief overview of what exactly happened with the Zeniths on Sirius, because it's really important to the ending. With the Zeniths, the plan was never to reboot the Earth and live there without the tribes. That's what Tilda tells us right at the beginning, but it's actually a lie, and I can see why the Zeniths didn't want to tell Aloy the truth. The Zeniths planned to take Gaia and flee to another planet in a random system orbiting a random star, and use Gaia to turn that planet into a paradise for them, built from the ground up for their every pleasure and whim. God, they're dicks. I'll get on to why they're not staying on Earth in just a bit, so just bear with me. Tilda, however, after spending centuries with the Zeniths, hates all of them, so wants them all dead, and for her to leave the planet alone with Aloy. Earlier in the game we had the revelation that Tilda and Elizabeth Sobek had a relationship that ended up kind of falling apart. Tilda wanted to take Aloy with her to the planet she'd flee to with Gaia, the terraforming system, because she regrets letting Elizabeth die thousands of years ago and still loves her, and says that she's not gonna let her die again. In fact, Tilda sees Aloy as a better version of Elizabeth, as her completely fulfilled self. Now, I'm not sure whether this means she's attracted to Aloy, or is just possessive and controlling of her as she's genetically identical to Elizabeth, and to be honest, knowing Tilda's personality, I think the latter is more likely. She's evidently spent centuries obsessing about Elizabeth and how much she regrets letting her die, so I think she feels a sense of ownership over Aloy because it kind of is like fate meeting her on the planet. But anyway, Tilda wanted to steal the complete Gaia kernel and create a world from scratch using Gaia for just her and Aloy. Again, I don't know whether this means she wanted a romantic relationship with Aloy or was planning to raise a generation of humans using any remaining zygotes, though we don't know if those zygotes exist anymore because they were originally on the Odyssey when it got sent out into space by the Far Zeniths. So I'm gonna assume that they would have just tackled that problem when they got to it? I don't know. By the time the big battle is done and Tilda is done doing her own rampage, all of the Zeniths are now dead, as far as we know anyway. They died in the battle on their island as their shields failed under Sylens' weapons and were presumably killed by Aloy's allies and those big machines. However, there might still be some alive who fled the battle, we can never really know for sure. On to why the Zeniths didn't want to stick around on Earth and instead wanted to flee to a random planet. Way back when the Pharaoh Plague was in its heyday, the Zeniths fled the Earth on the Odyssey and ended up reaching Sirius, despite sending a message that implied that their ship had been destroyed, presumably because they didn't want anyone to follow them. Also, they were dicks, so. Once they had reached Sirius, the Zeniths began to work on technology that would pretty much grant them immortality. The suits they wear keep them alive, and they wear almost impervious shields, so they essentially gained the ability to live forever. Aloy hints that they have mechanical components instead of flesh in a conversation with Alva, but this was never clarified, although if you look closely at the Zeniths, particularly Tilda, you can see that where her neck is, it looks like there's almost, not wires, but highly advanced structures beneath that see-through skin, so they might be partly androids or something. But being immortal in their human form wasn't enough for the Zeniths, as they wanted to transcend to digital immortality, becoming consciousnesses that transcended the limits of human bodies and could enter any vessel they wished. So, they created Nemesis. In a later video, I'm going to explain what life was like on Sirius for the Zeniths before everything went so disastrously wrong, so keep an eye out for that on the channel. Back to Nemesis. Nemesis is the combined consciousnesses of almost all of the Zeniths. Nemesis was an experiment where these consciousnesses were uploaded to some kind of vessel and then experimented upon to try and gain that digital immortality I mentioned earlier. But to do so, Nemesis had to be kept in captivity while the Zeniths experimented on it, tweaking and twisting it to try and figure out how they could upload their consciousnesses to any vessel they wanted. But it didn't work out, so they abandoned Nemesis for decades, combining the consciousnesses of not only geniuses who used their intellect to create vast wealth on Earth, but also the megalomaniacs who cultivated wealth through exploitative, privileged and underhand means, was not a good idea. Leaving that consciousness alone for decades was an even worse idea. During its time alone, Nemesis eventually gained sentience. Decades after decades passed, and during all this time, all Nemesis had to do was sit and think. Using its catastrophic intelligence, Nemesis found a way to break free, and with all the feelings and thoughts of those megalomaniacs in whatever it has for a head, who I bet don't like being controlled whether they're in human form or nebulous intelligence form, a cold, merciless hatred for its captors had festered within Nemesis. After breaking free, Nemesis destroyed Sirius in a matter of hours. It has the memories and personality of all of the Zeniths that contributed to it, so it knew passwords, technology specifics, pretty much everything it needed to hack into the Zenith colony and destroy it completely. Nemesis wants revenge for being created, experimented upon, and then abandoned by the Zeniths. Some Zeniths managed to flee Sirius, but Nemesis isn't one to give up. The Zeniths were going to use Earth as a way station to grab Gaia and then flee to a random planet where Nemesis couldn't find them, but they soon figured out that Nemesis was hot on their trail and following them to Earth. We don't know what Nemesis is made up of precisely, although it could be nanobots. I'm also going to assume it wasn't called Nemesis to begin with, as that's just tempting fate. Once Nemesis figured out that the Zeniths were fleeing to Earth, as it had their memories of it and could probably predict what they were going to do, it was the one who sent the signal that awakened and freed Hades to try and ensure the Zeniths had nowhere to run or resources on Earth to reap for their survival. So Nemesis is that mysterious master that Sylens mentions in the end credits scene in Horizon Zero Dawn. That's one thing that's ticked off the lore list at least. With the Zeniths defeated, the world now enters a new era. With the Zenith base being abandoned and without any defences, the Zenith technology is now available to people on Earth, especially Sylens, who is a genius in his own right and can probably figure out how it all works. Zenith architecture looks like it's grown rather than built, meaning it could have its own building or construction AI, so towns and cities could conceivably be built for the tribes. The Zeniths also have lures for machines, and an AI that controls it, which could be used to keep settlements safe from machines. Aside from the Zenith technology that's left on the Earth, don't forget that we also have Beta. Beta has knowledge of stuff beyond what Aloy or even Sylens knows about technology and physics, so she's undoubtedly going to be used to try and advance the defences that Earth currently has. All of this means that the world of Horizon is entering a new era with advanced technology that needs to be harnessed for humanity to even stand a chance of defeating Nemesis. On the more human side, Sylens has finally opened his heart. He's gotten attached to Aloy, as not only does he invite her to join him in the next chapter of his pursuit of knowledge, he then chooses to stay instead of exploring the galaxy in the Zenith ship with Apollo, which, until meeting Aloy, would have been a paradise for him. Things have definitely changed for Sylens. During his travels and meetings with Aloy, he's actually bonded with her over their shared intelligence and tenacity, and is slowly learning to care about people. Specifically, Aloy. Seeing that someone like her can open her heart to Beta, who is effectively her sister now, might give him hope that he too could find that kind of bond. Or he might have other more nefarious motivations, but now he has Apollo, So why would he abandon Aloy when he can just research Apollo at their base? After the final boss battle is done, you can find Sylens sticking around at Aloy's base instead of disappearing into the wilderness, which is unusual for him, though, again, with freely available advanced technology and Gaia at the base, he might just be being pragmatic. Sylens probably also hopes that if they do defeat Nemesis, he can then gain knowledge of what exactly Nemesis is made up of, and who knows, maybe transcend to digital immortality just like the Zeniths wanted to. Following the emotional climax of Horizon Forbidden West, Aloy's pals have gone to spread the news of the impending arrival of Nemesis to all the other tribes, and hopefully get help from all across the realm so everyone can help fight Nemesis when it appears on Earth. Now, that's the main ending of the game all summed up, but there are some loose ends. Hephaestus, for one, is still missing. If you remember, Beta had to let it go to create the robots that combated the spectres that the Zeniths created, so Hephaestus could be more of an issue in the next game, perhaps even being one of the antagonists. Earth now has Apollo back as well, and also has the Odyssey in orbit, meaning that the tribes on Earth can start learning about the high technology the Zeniths used and developed, as well as humanity's history. On to more human matters, don't forget that Zoe is pregnant with Val's child, so they're going to be raising the next generation to learn more about technology and such. With Apollo now reunited with Gaia, Zoe and Val's child could be the first person who's actually subjected to the educational program that was intended from the very beginning, meaning he, she, or they would end up knowing about humanity's history and all the technology and advancements that we discovered during our time on Earth. And that's the ending of Horizon Forbidden West Explained. Do you have any other unanswered questions you're curious about and would like me to cover? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, thanks very much, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Eurogamer as we have a new video out every single day. Now, I'm going to go and return to my lore hovel as I have some more research to do, so I'll see you next time.